peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for finding time to being with us today. This is Kenya and Africa at a glance. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and it is a pleasure to have you on board. Before I bring in my panelists this morning, I'd like to just go through quickly the headlines on the papers and what we have. And I'll start with the Daily Nation. And on the Daily Nation, the main headline, Uhuru cracks the whip in fresh purge against members of parliament, allied to Deputy President William Ruto. Jubilee plots removal of 5 leaders of parliamentary committees, and whose loyalty has reportedly shifted away from the party and President Kenyatta. The story is on page 5 on the Daily Nation. And vaccine challenge, Kenya's COVID-19 vaccine uptake way below World Health Organization targets. That is on page 10. NAT6 members union targets 150,000 in recruitment drive. You'll find that on the back page of the Daily Nation. Mystery of bodies dumped in River Yala, and some of the bodies were found in sacks while others go deep cuts, raising suspicions on the causes of their death. The story is on page 12. Wanchigi arrested on accusation of land fraud. You'll find that on page 6. And on doctor saved teen's life after lethal stab in eye. That happened at the Kenyatta National Hospital on page 3. And brace yourselves for longer wait at airport. Passengers told to arrive at JKIA 3 hours to departure time, even as COVID-19 screening and renovations intensify. That is on page 14 on the Daily Nation. And then we turn our attention. Also another story. How can I not see that? BBI fatback as Supreme Court hearing starts. That is on page 7 on the Daily Nation. And on the Star newspaper, Ruto keeps lead as Raila reduces gap. That is according to a poll by Radio Africa. And they've given the percentages there. And then we turn our attention to the Standard newspaper. The main headline, Uhuru Raila's last bullet to save BBI. That is on page 6 and 7. And high drama as police raid Jimmy Wanjigi's offices. That is on page 12. Ruto's party writes to Uhuru ICC over political violence and obesity, a nation struggling to carry its weight. That is a special report on health on page 10 and 11 on the Standard newspaper. And how old power network theft keep bills high. That is on page 29. And horror of bodies dumped in River Yala. You'll find that on page 4. So that is what we have on the front pages of the leading newspapers here in the country. We are joined this morning by Daniel Wesonga, our correspondent from Nairobi, and our in-house analyst, Daniel Wesonga. Very good morning to you.
Yes, very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu in Nairobi. Good morning to our viewers who are watching us this morning. And of course, across the globe, it is my pleasure to be on the panel this morning.
All right, nice to have you. And we are also joined by Dr. David Matanga, who is fixing his technology there. Doc, are you ready to join us? And a very good morning to you. You're muted, we can't hear you.
Just a minute.
Okay, all right.
So as you hear me now. Good morning, yes. Miriam. Thank you very much for this morning, and thank you very much. I can see the court firing up. The gentleman in the red who was just who is on the floor is fired up, and this is what we call normas in normal terms. There is no driving upside down in Kenya anyway, and this is good democracy. This gentleman, in fact, I don't know why the Kenyans don't allow some of us to go there. You know, he's not quoting any constitution, the medium. He's thrown the gentleman now on the floor. he's thrown all the books aside. He's just eating into this guy's argument, and you can feel it. You know, you can feel the balance, my dear sister. This is the life that I like, and that is why I am so much interested in legal matters, judicial matters, like the ICC. I like eating some of these things like that. You don't need to be a lawyer, Miriam, to be so tough. This guy is not a lawyer. Look at him. He's finished. His intellectual capacity is first class. Whether he loses this case, and he's agreeing with some of the things he said, there you are. But what he's doing now, right now, because you are going to do an analysis of the BBI, what he's doing, he's using some of the articles to demolish the pro-BBI side. He said, okay, the president, for example, cannot be forced to appoint. It is not the courts that should direct who should appoint the commissioners to the IEBC. Who is the appointing authority? It's the parliament. And then he has now also come down to contradict himself by saying, but the president has to write to parliament. So the same way the president has to write to initiate a process. So in a nutshell, thank you very much. Good morning. I was enjoying, that's why I was late. And let's start now. Thank you.
Okay, and we have already started. And yes, Doc, you're right. I was watching that argument. I think it's still on, and it's quite captivating, and the points he's making there. And of course, I think at the tail end of the show, we will go to the Supreme Court and get to hear what it is that is happening there. So, of course, from yesterday's hearing, we know that the hearing is to take place in 3 days, and the government yesterday defended the legality of the constitutional changes proposed in the Building Bridges Initiative. This came as the Supreme Court began hearing the BBI appeal on a day 2 lawyers walked out after they were stopped from addressing the judges. The Attorney General, the Electoral Agency, and the BBI National Secretariat faulted High Court and Court of Appeal judges for stopping process that followed legal procedures and had been endorsed by Kenyans, while making a case for the revival of the government-backed process that sought amendment of 74 provisions. The appellate lawyers urged the Apex Court to overturn the rulings. Daniel Wasonga, I don't know if you were watching the proceedings yesterday, the BBI appeal at the Supreme Court, and if you did, what's...
Yes, thank you so much, Miriam. And whatever stood out for me was the fact that the lawyers who were for the pro-BBI brigade were actually trying to argue out the point of the president being the promoter of the agenda. And it clearly, they were basing on the points that we raised here some time back when the Supreme Court had just given its verdict on the viability of President Uhuru Kenyatta and our ODM leader Raila Odinga being the promoter. And I believe the argument was the supreme law, the constitution should not be maybe interpreted in isolation, just choosing some clauses so that you take whatever suits your argument and leave the rest of the clauses out in your argument. They say that we should look at the constitution as a holistic document. And I believe that is what should happen. We should look at a president as a person who is a public office holder, and as well as a private citizen who is also allowed even to vote in the general election and any other election, including by-elections. So to me, I believe the lawyers put up a very, very brave fight. And I anticipate that the Supreme Court, being the highest court in the land, is gonna be able to interpret the constitution in the right way so that at the end of the day, we do not have a lacuna in our constitution, which might affect our future discourses. And also another argument was that many countries, just like Kenya, have been facing constitutional questions and which are more political. And they were asking the jury, how do you address these political questions or maybe solve these political problems? Like the question of the 2/3 gender rule, like the questions or even leadership and integrity. It is through, and also the change in structure of having inclusive leadership by allowing the positions of the prime minister, deputy prime minister, and so on and so forth. And the answer was that any country that has faced such a constitutional and political problem, they have always solved it with a political solution. You can never have a political problem being solved in a judicial or maybe in a constitutional way. So by basing on that fact, I believe that these judges of the Supreme Court are going to give Kenyans a clear path forward and be able to solve and be able to repair these lacunas that have been causing problems into our constitution. Because as it is, Miriam, even if today we say that we are not going to change the structure of leadership in Kenya, we still have another problem of the 2/3 gender rule. And the other day I had a male parliamentarian saying that if we do not have an affirmative action actually encapsulated in our constitution for women leaders to be appointed directly into parliament, then we might as well not achieve the 2/3 gender rule. And what does the constitution say? Tell the president, if we do not achieve the 2/3 gender rule, is that we have to actually break up parliament so that we go back to the elections and people of Kenya are given another opportunity to elect. So if we do not solve these particular problems in our constitution, which is hybrid, we might as well keep getting them into the future more and over again, and it might waste time for Kenyans. So therefore, the greatest remedy that the Supreme Court can give us is by allowing these constitutional change so that we can be able to align the constitution with our aspirations and our way of governance, Miriam. Because if we do not do that, then we shall be running on a constitution that does not listen to the voice and the aspirations of the people of Kenya. And by doing so, it means the people have become a slave to the constitution, which should not be the case. Because in any country, including America, which is an advanced democracy, the people are supreme, and it is the people who determine the laws and the rules which they are governed with by electing legislators who go into those houses, both the lower and the upper house, to be able to formulate those laws. So if you cannot allow our lawmakers to pass BBI, if you cannot ourselves even to vote in a referendum through BBI, then we might as well say that as a people, we have lost the right to govern ourselves, which is our supreme and sovereign right. Miriam, I submit.
All right, very well. And I see that the Supreme Court judges have taken a break. Yesterday, they took a 20-minute break, but I'm sure they will be back. I don't know how long they'll be out for. But during the submissions yesterday, Attorney General Paul Kihara Kariuki explained why a president should not be barred from using the popular initiative route to amend the Constitution and enjoys immunity to any legal proceedings, criminal or civil. Article 257 of the Constitution does not discriminate between private citizens and public or state officers. The road is available to citizens. It obviously include the president. Mr. Kariuki, through Solicitor General Kennedy Ogeto, told the Supreme Court. But Doc, there are perhaps people, and we've seen that argument play out in court during this whole procedure, that as much as a private citizen and any other person could go to court and start this constitutional amendment process, but the president is not your ordinary citizen. He enjoys a certain amount of privilege that puts him above everybody else.
First of all, Miriam, let's get this very clear. From chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Constitution, you can use it. You can look at it. What does it say? The sovereign. Who are the sovereign? The people. The people elect who? Who? What is the difference of election? What type of vote? What type of ballot paper does a human being use when electing the president? Is it different in size, in color, in print. Yes, it's only different in 1 MP, 2 governor, 2 senator, 3 MCA, 4 woman rep. But the color, the ballot remains a ballot. So the president was equally elected by the sovereign. So where does he end up? What is the difference between the state officer, who is the parliament, and the president, who is also a state officer? Why do you discriminate them on their Bill of Rights? Down there, when you reach there, you tell them no. Yeah, although we had a vote for you, we still have a very big worry about you. You should not ever do anything. But then we are the people who are elected the president. That's what the appeal is. If the president was elected to initiate, okay, leave, for example, leave out the president. You can say the president, yes. What about Raila Odinga? Raila Odinga is an ordinary citizen of the Republic of Kenya. Why did the appeal court lump him into the same category as the president? He's not the prime minister of Kenya. He's not the vice president of Kenya. He's an opposition leader, a leader of an opposition. He has a right to go to court, to anywhere, to initiate anything that is good for the country. So the way the appeal court erred is when they went and lumped the two. They would be successful if they had separated Raila Odinga and gave him that if it was someone, Raila Odinga has a right to initiate a bill, has a right to tell people let's change the constitution, has a right to say there's something going wrong in our country. That's it. So you tell me, if you have elected a person, you have his right, dignity, human rights, the right to belong as a citizen. Look at your first chapters, four of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. They talk about the Bill of Rights. They talk about human rights, integrity, sovereignty, the state, citizenry. That's the situation. So when you look at those type of things, that's where we are. And therefore, there was nothing wrong as a president can initiate. There is nothing in the Constitution. This guy has gone further to bring something that there is a section that says as a state officer. But then he contradicts himself by saying, when the IEBC lacks quorum, why is it that who is supposed to initiate? Because when it lacks quorum, it means it's unconstitutional. It means the Constitution has been abrogated, isn't it, Miriam? So if it lacks quorum and the president takes the initiative to go and begin the journey of initiating the changes and filling the IEBC, what can we do? So you have got my argument. Thank you.
Very well, thank you. Daniel Wasonga, what Doc perhaps is saying, the president, when it comes to voting, he does not have that privilege as a president not to vote. He still votes. he still votes. He voted himself, I believe, for his second time. He's still enjoying that responsibility as a citizen of this country to participate in matters that involves making certain decisions. But when it comes to starting a process that changed the constitution, and now it is a problem. What's your take on that?
Miriam, today, if we had a by-election in Gatundu South, be very sure that President Uhuru Kenyatta will also go there as a resident of Gatundu South to cast his ballot. And also another argument, how is it that they allow the president to be prosecuted as a person, as a private citizen, and yet they cannot allow him whatever is given in the Bill of Rights as a citizen of this country to be able to promote an agenda such as BBI? At the end of the day, the president is also a private citizen. In as much as he has advisors in State House, there are things he even makes decisions as a private citizen where he's maybe advised to go this way, and he says, as a person, I might not maybe perhaps deem your advice as quite tenable for the prosperity of this country. So it is very, very difficult, Miriam, for those who are bringing up that particular argument to really decipher and differentiate when the president can act as a private citizen and when he cannot act as a private citizen. But all in all, the right to be for political affiliation, the right to vote, the right to maybe initiate an agenda such as BBI should actually be granted to the president under the Bills of Rights. The president might have had maybe things that he feels should be captured in the BBI. He can be allowed to promote such a particular amendment in the Constitution, so long as the sovereignty and the fairness of who to cast the ballot or maybe to append their signatures will be left to the people of the Republic of Kenya. And that is what happened. More than 2 million signatures were given and verified by the IEBC. And if that argument was anything to go by, once the president perhaps maybe becomes one of the promoters of this bill, he's not actually the person who is going to make it maybe become into law. He's going to leave it to the people of Kenya either to approve or not to approve. Just the same way in Britain, we had the Prime Minister actually championing for maybe not exiting, not having Brexit bill passed, and the other side was having was antagonizing it. So you cannot say that now Kenya, which has a constitution which is a hybrid, which is borrowed between UK and US, can now limit its leaders or maybe the president from championing such a cause. Whereas under the Bill of Rights, just like any other Kenyan, President Uhuru Kenyatta is allowed to vote and is allowed also to enjoy all the rest of the rights that are provided for under that particular bill. And my argument is Miriam, why can they, if they can allow the president to be prosecuted as a private citizen, then why can't they allow also as a private citizen to promote an agenda such as BBI? So this is self-contradictory for the part of the people who are opposing such a particular move. And they should actually sit down and do some soul searching, because our constitution, like I said, is a hybrid constitution. And if we're gonna just interpret it in a simplistic way rather than holistic, then we're gonna have a problem of having so many lacunas that might actually impede the progress of the country going forward. I submit.
Very well, thank you. Daniel, now the Attorney General admitted that the Constitution has a basic structure outlined in Article 255, sub-Article 1, but disagreed with the lower court's finding that a change must follow 4 sequential steps. The appellate and high court judges listed the steps as civic education, public participation, constituent as assembly debate, and referendum. Is there a step of all the 4 steps? Is there one that, Doc, perhaps was not followed fully?
Which one is that?
Because the courts that had ruled on this case had said there are 4 steps that should have been followed consequentially, and it should have started with a civic education, public participation, constituent assembly debate, that is in parliament, and referendum.
And that's what the Constitution says. And the Constitution of Republic of Kenya does not say how far. It has not stipulated how far the public participation can go. But it has told us the parameters of public participation. When it goes to the MMM, the IEBC cannot do public participation because then it will become impartial. It's not impartial, it will become partial, isn't it? If it does public participation, if it goes to the MCS and say, we want to educate you on the referendum, on this question, it will be doing something very contrary to what the law wants. What the IEBC did was to transmit the documents after certification under 257 that it was very clear, and then carried them to the National Assembly. From the National Assembly, after they had approved it, it comes back to the IEBC again, and the IEBC transmits it back to constituency assemblies or county assemblies. It is not the work of anybody. Where else did they go wrong? You see, let me tell you, East or West, the judgment, whatever it comes out, is very interesting to reset history, because you cannot. There is one thing that I wanted to bring in this, which the judges might not see. And usually the judges depend on public interest. There's the word public interest. If I had gone to the Supreme Court, I would not even bother with those sections. I would be like my friend with the red African shirt. I would address these judges to watch, to look at the window, to look at the horizon, to even tell them, look upstairs and see the signs. I would make that court laugh and be energetic. Look at the signs in the heavens. Something wrong is coming. Someone is filing applications, writing to the ICC, writing to American ambassador, writing to the British ambassador. My lords, can you look at the signs in the heavens that there is public interest? The public interest of the Republic of Kenya is that the elections that are selected for August 2022, 9th, zitakuwa na mawingo. Mawingo itakuwako. Mawingo ndio hiyo inaonekana. My lordships, mawingo inaonekana. Nyenye muko wa Kenya, you are also Kenyans. You see the clouds gathering. Not good clouds, but of very bad rain. And you want us still to be rained and flooded on. You see a tsunami. You see people promising earthquake. Someone here promised an earthquake that some people, some white people, have actually booked Kenya Airways to leave Kenya thinking there will be an earthquake on Sunday. I'm one of those who is leaving on Sunday because I fear there will be an earthquake. But I believe there will be a tsunami. I don't know where Wesonga is going to be. So let the tsunami with the water, because Raila says it's a tsunami. Somebody says an earthquake. So when the judges seated in that Supreme Court, are they not seeing the tsunami and the earthquake? The election is not properly prepared. Two, there is a need for unity in this country. The best tenet of IEBC is unity. You can go anywhere. Look at the entire, what is the theme of BBI? The theme of BBI is unity. the president is trying to bring unity to the Kenyans. And there is no judge who loves Kenya more, who likes Kenya, who would like to leave a country and make a ruling that will leave this country torn to pieces. When the head of state, whom you gave powers under 1, 2, 3, and 4, the sovereign gave him powers. The sovereign are the same people who said, no, from the powers that we gave you, therefore, my lordship, this is what you should do. Now, the president said he has seen Mawingo. He has seen violence. He has seen Ruto trying to paint a picture, because on 15th of February, all the bad things that Ruto has been doing in the background are going to be displayed to the world. So what Ruto has technically done is to preempt what the court is going to bring on 15th of February. Remember, in the ICC, Ruto's evidence has been accepted. Miriam, don't forget that all these tactics, as people are doing all these things, Ruto's evidence that was supposed to come at play at his trial before it was vacated. And I'm using the correct words here. Vacation, because of recanting of witnesses. Because witnesses recanted. Therefore, he fixed witnesses. So his evidence, that he was the evidence that we did not hear, is going to be heard from 15th of February. So what Ruto has done is to cause this animosity around here. If you are looking at a person who has been causing animosity in Kenya, in Kenya, who is the person who started the campaigns, who started the early campaigns? Raila has not been going around campaigning. Ruto has been campaigning for 4 years. Who started the Hustler versus Dynasty? Who is more dividing and creating chaos among Kenyans? Is Ruto. But because he has found out that on 15th of February, all the people in Mount Kenya will hear what he did to the Kikuyus, he has a problem now. And that's why he's running around with letters across the world, thinking.
Are you surprised Are you surprised that he wrote to the ICC over the chaos we saw at Jacaranda grounds over the weekend?
I am even surprised that such chaos of a local police can be given to the ICC. Nobody died there. ICC does not police local jurisdictions. That's for the local police. He is stupid. You know, a stupid man who has ego is Ruto.
So what do you think?
I think Miriam, one of these days.
No. When I heard that story, I really wanted to get your thoughts on it, because I thought, oh, fine, these are local politics, chaos, and all that. I wondered if it has gotten to the magnitude of now we should seek for ICC to carry. What do you think UDA perhaps and Deputy President William Ruto seeks to achieve with this move to the ICC right now?
Correct. He seeks. And let the government open its eyes. Let the people listening to us today, and these people who are in government, you watch. You also pile pressure. There is somebody in the ICC who is giving Ruto information. And for me, I have got now evidence. I'm going to blow this person out. He will lose the job in a few minutes. There's somebody who is giving Ruto evidence about witnesses, where they are. And these witnesses are being told not to give evidence. For me, I'm always very straight. Just as the other time, I told people that, you know who knows the witnesses? Hassan Omar. You saw Hassan Omar yesterday on TV. It is Hassan Omar who selected the witnesses. So is Ruto having access to witnesses? I want to ask the Kenyans. I want to ask the security officers. I'm asking you people. It means that Hassan Omar, who actually selected the witnesses, who became ICC witnesses, Miriam, is also giving Ruto the whereabouts of these witnesses. Because OTP and Hassan Omar are the same people. Two, if it's not Hassan Omar, then somebody in the ICC is leaking the whereabouts of witnesses. And therefore, these witnesses could be killed, or they are being killed, or they are being told, or they are being paid money. So Ruto is committing even more. And we are watching here. Because the thing in Jacaranda does not send anybody. Kenya cannot react. This is just political propaganda of a man who has sensed defeat, that on 15th of February, when the case starts in the morning at 9 o'clock, Central European time, Ruto will be going to the toilet to urinate 4 times.
And Doctor, just
you know why, Miriam? Because the Kikuyu from the mountain will hear exactly what Ruto did, and he will lose his vote. That is the worry. Don't you see? That's all. That's all. I'm not, it is because I don't like ICC. By now.
But whether he writes or he does, the ICC case will proceed anyways. But just staying with the story just a little bit longer, because I think it's important. Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is part of the Security Committee in this country. So for UDA, he has to write to President Uhuru Kenyatta. What kind of nonsense is this?
Miriam, I hope Fred, wherever you are, should be quoting this so that we give these clips to some of these security agencies. This guy is a security member of the national security. He doesn't attend those meetings. Because if he attended those meetings, he could be making submissions to the IG from those meetings and tell the IG that Raila's supporters want to kill me. But the same man who is a member of National Security Agency of Kenya, the top organ, goes to write to an outside body. What is the intention? The intention is to malign the name of President Uhuru Kenyatta. That what he has been planning, even to the extent maybe recruiting militia. Remember, there are so many things that have been happening around Karamoja, around Turkana. The helicopter goes down with people, 4 whites, purportedly to be Americans. I have never seen an American lose its national. And a medium, it never makes noise. Even if you kill a baby American anywhere on planet Earth, they will come for you. They want to find out how that baby died. So you tell me, a normal man, Matanga, who grew up in the plain mountain areas of Elgon, that an American loses 4 Americans on a helicopter. They all die, isn't it, Miriam? And we don't know what they were carrying. Mr. Nanok runs on the scene and cleans the whole scene. We were told that notes and notes material were splashed in a wide area. Surely, how far has Kenya gone with that accident? Who was that? Who were those? What were they coming from at night? So for me, I've always had this suspicion And take me very nicely. Don't harass me. That, my dear sister, my suspicions could be correct. That Ruto is not interested in an election. Ruto is interested in an insurrection. It's not election, but insurrection. Again, write it down. You are very good at writing down. Write it down. This is going to come. That's why now he's preparing the background to take this gentleman to take. You know, when the violence erupts, he said, no, it was not me who planned the violence. The violence was planned by Kenyatta and the police. But it is him going to trigger the violence. That's why, like you are wondering, I'm also wondering, how on earth does a person who sits on National Security Committee come to write a letter to the ICC instead of picking a phone and asking the IG about the matter? Thank you.
Very well, thank you so much. And I think Daniel Osonga might want to comment on this matter. Osonga, the Deputy President is part of the, committee of the national security of this country. So for the UDA party that he leads to write to President Kenyatta and copy to other agencies as well as to the ICC. I mean, what is this about?
Yes, thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, this is crying foul, and the Deputy President has come out as a politician who is very, very hypocritical. Just like Dr. Masanga David has opined, is that, and yourself as well, it is that the Deputy President sits in the National Security Council of Kenya, being the Deputy President, and he always, besides that, he always says that President Uhuru Kenyatta is his friend, despite all these politics. So writing to him a 30-page letter as well to the ICC, I think it is very, very unfortunate and quite could have maybe sought other ways of reaching out to the president, as well as just settle this matter within the Jubilee Party structures, because he always maintains that he's a member of Jubilee Party, despite him moving around, drumming up support for UDA. So to me, I think it's just a matter of hypocrisy, but that is who William Ruto is. And in as much as today he's talking about state-sponsored violence, he must not forget that yesterday his ally and confidant, the Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Moses Kuria, posted something yesterday in regards to Kiambaa church massacre, and he said one of the Pentagon members, when Raila Odinga was planning to go and do a preemptive rally in Eldoret and other parts of Rift Valley, because the British High Commission and other Western embassies had prevailed on him with intelligence that attacks were being planned. One of the Pentagon members told Raila Odinga not to go there, for an operation was going to be conducted, only for the Kiambaa massacre to happen the same fateful day. So to me, I believe that is hypocrisy, and he should, instead of doing that, he should cooperate with ICC to make sure that his case, which has been vacated, is actually closed, the files are closed, rather than keeping them in the sideshows and all that kind of manner of things. But to me, Miriam, I think it's just something of trying to get someone who is not interested in those petty games and the kind of violence that is happening in UDA rally. And maybe just comment on the same violence that is happening in UDA rally. You've seen that the Deputy President has been trying to frantically implicate the ODM leader as a violent person. The other time when he was in Kondele and he was told not to proceed with the rally in Kondele Junction, he actually defied the intelligence of the security agencies. What does that mean? This is someone who is actually going to the extent of looking for trouble. We've seen Raila moving around. We've seen President Uhuru moving around. And whenever they're told, don't go to that particular area, it could have some kind of hostility. They don't proceed and go there. We've seen whatever happened in Jacaranda the other day. We've seen whatever has been happening around across Nairobi. So to me, I think this person who has been trying to implicate Raila so much and paint him as a violent person is the sole beneficiary of this particular violence. Whenever William Ruto is stoned or maybe appears to have been attacked in Raila's stronghold, it actually adds some more credit and sympathy votes to William Ruto. So he's the sole beneficiary of this violence. And therefore, he will do anything he could within his means to make sure that this violence continues to happen. So when he writes a letter to ICC, actually, I believe the DCI and other relevant security agencies should investigate this man for instigating violence against himself and going out there to blame his opponent, who is Raila Odinga. And maybe Miriam, just before I conclude, there's a time the former Nairobi governor Mike Sonko posted on his Facebook account and said during the run-up to 2017 general election, one William Ruto approached him and asked him to hire some young men who could actually feign a mob justice. And he went and brought these young men to William Ruto, and these men were actually dispatched on the sections of Uhuru Highway when NASA was holding a rally there. And their work, actually what they did was to rough up people on the streets and be able to break motor vehicle windows and windscreens as they pass through the path. And whatever remained for them as leaders, including William Ruto, was to condemn how ODM was violent and how Raila Odinga was the champion of violence in this country. So this is not something new to William Ruto, and I believe our security agency should move with speed and be able to stop this man before he instigates violence across many other counties and any other places in this country. I submit.
All right, thank you. And as we get to a close of this conversation past, before I go to Doc Daniel, maybe it's hard to tell what to be expected today from the Supreme Court during this BBI appeal hearing, but perhaps, I don't know, what do you expect to come out of today's BBI appeal?
I might not maybe make so much out of the BBI, perhaps the Supreme Court ruling, and maybe the ruling is going to be given later today. But if there will be no ruling, perhaps I just anticipate that the promoters of BBI through their lawyers are going to put up a very, very strong fight, a brilliant fight in terms of argument and all that. And of course, Dr. Masanga has given us whatever is happening in the Supreme Court today. And I believe from where I sit, these are cases to be won because we had a lot of loopholes, even in the ruling of the High Court and the Appellate Court, where perhaps the arguments on which the BBI was collapsed were not quite satisfying. It was not maybe anchored on any legal basis, so to say. So I believe the Supreme Court will be able to give a fair ruling to the promoters of the BBI. I believe they'll be able to look even beyond the personal acrimonies that happen to be in the lower courts, that is the Appellate Court and the High Court, where some judges had personal vendetta with the president due to his lack of maybe assenting their names to be promoted through the Judicial Service Commission. So to me, I believe fairness will come out from this particular hearing at the end of the day, and all the best to the lawyers who are representing the promoters of the bill, because that is where the majority of Kenyans are, and that is what Kenyans really want.
All right, thank you. Doc?
First of all, Miriam, I want to take this opportunity to tell you that whatever the outcome is, there is one most important thing that the Kenyans must bear in mind. And that is, what is more important? Is it the judicial process or the nation? Will the nation be there without judicial? Will the judicial process be there without a nation? When a nation goes to pieces, like the nation of Nigeria, which is going to pieces, while the executive is watching, is exactly what the people who oppose BBI are asking Kenyans to forget about what might happen to the country called Kenya and concentrate on maintaining a constitution. You cannot have a constitution without a country called Kenya. A constitution is not in a vacuum. A constitution, Miriam, is made because they are people. But when people are going to be killed, and you're a leader, and you see that if you don't unite these people, you allow them to go to an election, there will be death. What do you expect? A leader sits there and watches, Miriam. A leader watches people kill each other. A leader says, go for election, and then election is contested. Then people are already planning, those who are paying people to go and disrupt rallies. I don't think any normal court in the world, having put the country first, we allow the appeal. We allow the court of appeal and the lower courts to have their say up to the end. The Supreme Court of Kenya, with its experienced people, with the way that I see the case coming up and the reasoning, when you have somebody coming to the place reasoning saying he doesn't want to quote anything, then how will the judges preempt his argument? He's doing very well though, as a lecturer, as a teacher. And then he goes very fine and says, Odunga and Joel. So he's an agent of those two. So every judge there will say, he came here to tell us what is the most important thing that any Kenyan today will expect from the Supreme Court is sanity. We want, every Kenyan wants a free, fair, peaceful Kenya. Therefore, the judges cannot scatter Kenya. If the BBI is going to bring the Kenyans together, so be it. And that is the way the BBI is going to do. People need to shake hands. Ruto and Raila should shake hands, sit in one room for one day, and talk and talk. When they get out of that room, there will be white smoke. And we would have got a pope who will lead Kenya. But if we are beginning the way we are now, Miriam, I'm telling you, my sister, if we are beginning the way we are now, we have a problem. Therefore, I am optimistic that the court will come with a verdict of 4-3 or 5-2. You asked exactly what will be the outcome. I hope 5 judges on the bench will agree. And it will be carried by the majority vote that BBI can be conducted and the people can go back, conduct it. And therefore, so be it. And there is nowhere you will go again. So be it. That is my feeling, and I submit.
All right, thank you so much. And I see that the proceedings have resumed there at the Supreme Court. And also this is where our show comes to an end this morning, but we will be back with our continuing conversation on where we left yesterday on the case of Nnamdi Kanu. So don't go too far. Thank you so much for watching. We will be right back.
Miriam, thank you. It is Diaspora Dispatches, your favorite subject.
must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.